It's the Breakfast Lab on Namibia's #1 hit music station. I am so happy right now. Been a fan of the man for quite some time when it comes to TV and screen, but now a new fan of the music. Welcome to the Breakfast Lab. None other than you've seen him in Hollywood, you've seen him in South Africa, you've probably heard him on the radio. Mr. Neil Sandilands, welcome to the Breakfast Lab.
Good morning. It's very lekker to be.
Hair's looking beautiful, by the way.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. Wow.
I mean, we are so happy to have you here on Namibia's #1 because you were recently in our little beautiful land of the brave, trekking through the Namib desert for season 2 of the Groot Niks. You start in Swakop and you guys made your way all the way until the north by the Kunene. I just want to say, first and foremost, congratulations on season 2.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it started on Saturday. Great delight for me. Like just one of those personal highlights every time I go there. It's such a life-affirming trip to do. So very blessed. You know, sometimes I have to pinch myself. I'm there with a full concession. We've got all the gear and the gizmos and the whatnot, and I'm working. No, it was just a delightful experience.
Neil, when it comes to Namibia, when us Namibians get asked about our beautiful little country, the love we have, the attraction, where it all lies, I think very often we talk about it's the land, it's the soil, the nature. But Neil, by no means do I want to call you an outsider. So I'd rather say as a friend of Namibia, what's the attraction to our beautiful little piece of heaven for you?
Oh dear. This goes back quite a while. You know, the first time I spent some time there was in the year 2000, and I had a little Nissan Champ bakkie. And whether you believe it or not, I drove that bakkie all the way from the southern border, all the way through to Ipupa.
Wow.
Even then, I mean, there's a little bit of a backstory to it. It was those beginning years of Laan, and they weren't sure whether they were going to continue with what became a 20-year plus running soap. But it was literally when it started. And they put us all on retainers, 25% of our salary and 3 months with a prohibition that you may not work, right? You may not accept any other work. So I had 3 months. And I got in my bakkie and I drove, you know, like a young man does, all the way up. And it just blew my mind. I mean, it was like tripping without tripping, you know. I didn't know that such a wonderful place could exist. And I've developed some theories along the way about Namibia. And I think because of its harshness, its extremes and whatnot, it sort of takes whatever's going on inside you and it amplifies that. So meaning to suggest if you are in a good place, you are going to have a fantastic time there. If you are in a rotten sort of headspace, Namibia is going to amplify it for you. Yeah. Having said that, I mean, the idea of adventure, to go boldly where no man has trodden before, you know, not that, at least that was the feeling, because I would be driving and the elbow room is there. You still get the impression that this is uncharted territory. Yeah, there's a poetry there.
You mentioned it earlier that it's a very harsh place. I feel especially the Namib desert, it's woes, it's unforgiving, it's very rough terrain. So for season 2 of the Groot Niks, Swakopmund to the Kunene, it's daunting, let alone having camera crews and, you know, there's schedules, there's shots that need to get taken and everything. When you do something like this, is there a mental prep that goes into this, or is it more, you want to know what? We headed into the desert, make sure we got water, and let's just take it as it comes?
I think a bit of both. I think in my approach, at least, I try to have a balance between Apollonic, so structure. You need to have the infrastructure there. So, and then there needs to be a little bit of a Dionysiac adventure. You know, let's just take it as it comes. Then we've got a sort of an objective glimpse as to what we're going to do. We're going to start here and we're going to visit these places, and that's about the amount of force or structure that I would want to apply to it.
That's leading exactly where I wanted to go with this, because I want to commend you on the Groot Niks. I had this like smile on my face watching it, the way you approach it, because I feel the average program like this, you're going to get the person walking in off camera going, the Namib Desert, the oldest desert in the world. Whereas with you, it was just you living yourself into this thing. You were talking to your audience. You were not talking at the audience. And I think that's so important. I want to find out, with this idea behind the Groot Niks from the start, was it maybe something different people had in mind with you, or was it just let Neil be Neil, let him discover this along with the audience?
There's a beautiful backstory to that. So when Waldo van der Waal and Hannes Pfister approached me to do that, I was still in the United States. And then I got to South Africa and I had to get a rental and drive all the way up to Uppington. And that's where I met them. First time we've ever met in person. And the very next day we start shooting.
That's a lot of trust you got to put in people for something.
Yeah, totally. But I think they threw me in at the deep end and I threw them in at the deep end. When we were at a place called Grasplatz, in the southern Namibia, that was where we first took the cameras out. Okay, now we're starting filming, and I looked at this and I was I was super concerned because I didn't want to be. I'm sorry, that's my phone. I didn't want to be making a travelogue with aerial photography and driving shots, and we see a lot of these. They needed to be something else.
Yeah.
So next thing, I take out my kilt and my ukulele and a sombrero. And I was going okay, just think about this for a second, gentlemen. This is a wild image. Where do you you're in the middle of nowhere.
Never.
And there's a guy with a sombrero and a kilt and a ukulele. What the actual, just as a visual. So you must imagine what went through their heads. They're going we're going to spend the next couple of 2 weeks with this fella. Just got out of the car with a kilt and sombrero and a ukulele. He's off his rocker.
Yeah.
But then we started doing it, and I started giving them the delivery as I saw it, as it was unfolding. And I think they were kind of going okay, sold.
The Groot Niks on KykNet, I want people to go watch it, because Neil, in however many years of having Namibian history at school, I never learned that there was a connection between Elvis Presley, Alice Cooper, and Namibia. Now, I'm not going to say anything because people must go watch. But what I want to find out from you is, without giving away too much so that people can go watch, what would you say are top 3 the Groot Niks moments? Whether it was on screen, off screen, maybe you can tease something for the people that want to go watch.
Give me 1 second to just think about it. I wanted to do. I actually, incidentally, I have that sombrero here, and there's my uke. It's lying on the table. So I think because I did that trip in the year 2000, and because of the bakkie, the one place that I could not get to with the little champ bakkie was the Kunene River mouth.
Okay.
So that estuary is obviously, it just blew my mind. So for me, getting there, that was an absolute first. Never been there in my life. And that was lovely. When the afternoon that we arrived there, you'll see in the series, there's some abstract shots. And that was just one of my other wild and wacky ideas. You'll see me in a floral suit, right? And the wind is blowing like it's nobody's business. You couldn't believe it. I run the risk of giving too much away.
But then let's not do that. Let's not give too much away. I mean, the only thing to tell people is just watch it. It's on KykNet. Neil, starting from season 1 all the way up until season 2, from top to bottom, bottom to top of the Namib Desert, what is the one place you'd go back to, the one thing you'd see again, the one person you could visit? What was the absolute, if I got the opportunity to go back to one, it'll be that one?
Sure. I did meet one of your laureate poets, a fella named Charles. We just encountered him there, and now for the life of me, I cannot remember.
Zandberg?
You're right. Yes.
Okay,
Charles Zandberg.
Yeah.
We were told that he knows a lot about Himba culture, etc., etc., and we had a long discussion. And being the kind of dude I am, I started asking him, so what gives you a kick? What do you do here? And he was such a humble man. And he was like, right at the end of our interview, he was going like, yeah, and I happen to write a little bit of poetry and whatnot. And you know what you think is like, yeah, okay. So like, this is probably going to be something like roses are red, violets are blue. So I go like, hang on, like, would you mind reading us some stuff? He disappeared. He went to his bakkie or his vehicle, came out with, he's been published. He's one of the greats of Namibia. And he started reading his poetry. And as it unfolded, I was going like, you are an actual poet.
Beautiful.
Post facto, we Googled Charles and came to understand that he's one of the Namibian greats. And I would, just at face value, you could have tickled me pink. Such a humble man, such a no frills, no bell, it's like just super, super real and in the moment. And and he spent some time in the East as well. And I think it's one of my favorite moments. And I would love to have the opportunity to go back and really, have a conversation on Long Lane over a 7-course meal, because I think there's just a vault of understanding in Charles Zandberg.
Neil, we spoke a little bit earlier. You said the concept of a sequel is not something that you enjoy. So with that in mind, is there a future? What is the future then of Die Groot Niks? Maybe not so much the future of Die Groot Niks, but the concept behind the series. Will there be more? Dig more into the Namib Desert, maybe a different destination?
Well, we've sort of set up a legacy now, I think. And as long as people support it and watch it, I think the broadcaster would go like, this is significant. And I think there's also, it caters for their audience as well in a way that a lot of other programmatier does not necessarily do. Right? From a broadcaster perspective, I can see the value in it. We spoke about it loosely whilst we were there at the Kunene River mouth, and we looked across the border, and there was Angola, and I remember so vividly saying to Valdu, if we do a Die Groot Niks 3, then we start right there. So it would be just on the other side of the Kunene River, meaning to suggest, answering your question, it would, because we went through the Namib Woestijn, we did the Kahokeveld, it would make, I guess, geographical sense to continue doing that just on the other side of the border and go into Angola. And I would imagine that there's a vault of stories to be uncovered there, and geography, landscape, fauna and flora. And it's the only sub-Saharan country I have not been to. So I would love to go there.
Neil, in all your travels up and down our Namib Desert, did anyone ever show you the Namibian hand?
No.
So this is a big thing locally. Yes. Yeah. So
yes,
okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure, because if you're ever in Namibia and you check that up, I mean, people are going to be like, he's one of ours.